Larry David, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm, who occasionally pops up in politics, as he did with his feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene, is now attacking Bill Maher for his recent meal with President Donald Trump. Larry David put out this satirical essay in the New York Times titled My Dinner with Adolf, and it's a lot of fun, as any sort of fan fiction about Adolf Hitler certainly will be. He says, imagine my surprise when in the spring of 1939, a letter arrived at my house inviting me to dinner at the old chancellery with the world's most reviled man, Adolf Hitler. I had been a vocal critic of his on the radio from the beginning, pretty much predicting everything he was going to do on the road to dictatorship. No one I knew encouraged me to go. He's Hitler, he's a monster. But eventually I concluded that hate gets us to nowhere. I knew I couldn't change his views, but we need to talk to the other side, even if it has invaded and annexed other countries and committed unspeakable crimes against humanity. So that is obviously sort of satirizing what Bill Maher has said about Donald Trump, that I've been the strongest critic of him, which is not true. He has been a critic of him, but he's agreed with a lot of his critiques of DEI and wokeism and all that for literally years at this point. He's carried water for that identity politics stuff that the right does. And he says we need to listen to them. First of all, he's always platformed the worst right wingers. That's not some new desperate gambit in these dark times. That's what Bill Maher has always done, for better or for worse. Now, the Times allowed this essay, but they clearly were a little bit worried that people might misconstrue what they're doing. In an accompanying message to readers, one of the editors of the Times said, Larry's piece is not equating Trump with Hitler. It's about seeing people for who they really are and not losing sight of that, which I think it's clear Larry David thinks that Bill Maher has. See, in the opening monologue of the April 11th episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, Maher said that the guy I met, Donald Trump, was not the same as the public-facing Trump, describing the president as gracious and measured. Gracious and measured. He's sending people to gulags. He has called for US citizens to be sent there. He has called for them to build 5 more supermax prisons to send US citizens there. He has said he is going to steal Gaza from the Palestinians. Do I need to list all the things he's done? No, he's gracious and measured. He's not a wild aberration that needs to be stopped and replaced. He's just a normal person. You may disagree with him, but he's totally normal. Now, Maher says that he didn't go MAGA, but listed policy areas where he agrees with Trump, including moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem and restricting DEI programs. Again, I did not need to hear either of those from Bill Maher. I could have told you that he agreed with him. But again, I want to read just a little bit more of the satire and then we'll discuss. David goes on to describe the imagined meeting with Hitler, who he says he found quite disarming and was proud to crack up with a joke about his tan suit. I realized I'd never seen him laugh before. Suddenly he seemed so human. That is very similar to what Maher said about Trump, telling his viewers, I had never seen him laugh in public, but he does at himself, and it's not fake. First of all, I don't really believe that. But I also, and I want to be super clear about this, I do not give one iota of a damn about what Donald Trump thinks is funny. He is a force for evil unparalleled in our time. He is doing it on a daily basis. He is dismantling the government. He is ruining people's lives, and he is doing it on purpose for the enjoyment, the merriment of his dark political movement. I don't give a damn if he likes self-deprecating humor. Again, I don't buy it. I don't think that he does, but it also is so utterly irrelevant. But Bill Maher is as disconnected from the real world as Donald Trump is. Bill Maher has not seen the real world from the window of his mansion in 20, 30 years. He's been rich and disconnected for longer than many of you have been alive. And this is what that leads you to. The feeling that your job is to go and have a nice dinner with a billionaire who's trying to destroy American democracy and then talk about, oh no, he can actually laugh at himself. And the thing is, Larry David's been rich for decades. He could be just as disconnected. He'd probably say that he is. And yet he's better reflecting what's actually going on with his op-ed than Bill Maher is in this time, or I would wager will for the rest of his life. We have more, but Jackson, what do you think?
I mean, Bill Maher just kind of seems bored to me. He's like you said, he's been wealthy for decades, and he's also kind of just a grumpy old man. A lot of his takes, and not even just his takes, just the way he is. He just seems just frustrated and kind of pissed off 24/7. So I just, I think that for him, this is an opportunity to maybe slide into a bit of a different audience, or maybe, again, he just kind of strikes me as someone who's bored and doesn't really know what else to do.
Yeah.
I don't think he's very enthusiastic. He doesn't come off as very passionate about what he does or much of anything. So I think that he's kind of making a jackass of himself. But again, he's been doing that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I think I'll try to be fair. I think that Bill Maher is being honest to what he is with it. Again, he's been doing this thing of like bringing right wingers on for forever because he agrees with them on a lot of things. He considers himself genuinely to still be the right moral one who represents what Democrats should be, and he thinks they've gone too far. He's wrong. He's just wrong. He has now been lapped by multiple generations who better understand what the real world is like. They better understand the struggles, the problems, and what needs to be done to fix them. And he has been incapable of learning or updating the facts, the calculus in his head for decades. He doesn't care to. And when he talks about politics, the only things that seem to get him passionate are like liberals, well, they're not nice to me. They don't let me joke around or whatever, as if Donald Trump isn't cracking down on his critics, deporting people for wrongthink, for thought crimes and all of that. Banning media outlets, like the idea, but again, he's like from the 90s. He's like, oh, you have to be PC for the lefties. Dude, they're deporting people for holding up signs saying stop bombing Palestinians. Can you update? Like, again, he just buys the narrative of the right because he always has. He cedes so much ground to them that they do not deserve, and that's what he does. And then maybe, like, I bet if we were to list a whole bunch of other policies, we might agree on a lot. The issue is he doesn't truly care about any of that because he doesn't have to, because he's rich. And so I'll get fired up talking about wages. I'll get fired up talking about Social Security or whatever. He can't anymore because it doesn't matter to him anymore. He has no idea about the struggles that people are actually facing. So it's easy for him to do this, particularly when he feels like that makes him special or distinct. I mean, hell, if we jump ahead to graphic 11 or 10, I have Charlie Kirk and he comes on my show and he says that like, I'm the one with the actual moral courage. I'm standing up to my party. Yeah, but you're wrong. You're wrong. Have you considered the possibility that if Charlie Kirk thinks you're the good Democrat, that actually isn't a compliment? Charlie Kirk wants Democrats to fail. And that's me being charitable. I believe he actually wants far worse for most Democrats. I think he'd be perfectly happy if many of them were put face first against a wall and gunned down en masse. I think he's moving towards that. But the idea that like he thinks more Democrats should be like you, that's not for the Democrats' benefit. And why do I need to teach a guy who's been talking about politics for 30 years that you cannot trust your enemy to give you political advice? How is Bill Maher, in the haze of weed smoke that he's existed for the better part of a half century, does he still need to be taught that? So anyway, he's gonna do whatever he's gonna do. He's rich, he's fine. He's got his show for the rest of his life. He'll never have a person like me on, so whatever. But again, it's sad to see it, Jackson. And I know I've been going on. I apologize. I should let you speak. No. I'm sorry. I hate to see this. And thank you, Larry David, for being real.
Yeah, and I mean, we've said pretty much everything that needs to be said about this, and you pointed it out perfectly about how, Bill Maher, he's not just rich, he's wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Like he ain't got a couple $1 million. Like he ain't that type of rich. He is rich. And also, he's always talking about how the Democrats are always lose because of progressives. Everything's because of progressives. People who want higher wages and all those things that you pointed out. It's because of them. And the LGBTQ community for being too weird. That's his take on everything. Like you guys are weird and strange, so it doesn't work out. Yeah. But again, just kind of grumpy old man. That's what it's giving.
That's what it's giving.